verse 1, another burden. It is funny because sometimes when you are reading the Bible passages and when you are preparing for a sermon, you normally try to divide the passage in the same way that it was divided. And then you will assume that I will start reading chapter 6 as we read it before from verse 1 to verse 10. And that's the section. Like if you have a Bible with you, you have the title for this section. But sadly, the letter wasn't written in this way. In fact, because Paul was trying to save a lot of paper, the letter was written with no spaces whatsoever. And so some people decided to divide the chapters and the verses later, but I think, and many people will agree with me, they make a bit of a mistake. This section cannot be read starting in 6 verse 1. It needs to be read starting in verse 25 of the previous verse, previous chapter. If we live by the Spirit, let us also keep in step with the Spirit. Let us not become conceit, provoking one another, envying one another. And then when you read that, you said the same. Then Paul is talking about spiritual transformation, spiritual renovation, and Paul is talking about the Christian life in the Spirit. And how do you talk about the Christian life in the Spirit? Paul is talking about a bit of a transformation, and that is something very important because I think in the Christian church in the West, we try to be really nice. Let me explain you what we try to be really nice. Brother, if anyone is caught in any transgression, you who are spiritual should restore him in a spirit of gentleness. Keep watch on yourself, lest you too be tempted. Bear one another burdens and so fulfill the law of Christ. Let me explain you. In the church in Cuba, and in the church in Africa, and in the church of other parts of the world that we are not so much in the west of the church that have historically been in the middle of the Christendom, there is something called church discipline. Okay? And then if brothers and sisters in the family of Christ, they sing or they have a bit of a difficulty in the spiritual life, the elders of the church, the minister of the church will call them aside and try to exercise a spiritual discipline. That's something that we perhaps don't do here too much because we all love to be nice. Unless you are a narcissistic with a complex of a primary school teacher that wants to tell everybody that you are right and the rest of the people are not right and that you have the most difficult job in the world. Sorry, I went too far there. But if you don't have that type of complex, you will not love to call people and say, let me tell you what you are doing that is wrong. Who likes to be the one doing discipline to others? We don't like it. So what we try to do is to close both eyes, put our hands at the back, and pretend that that never happened. And we pretend that we haven't seen that happening, that that has never happened, and then we pray that at some point these bad things is so far back that nobody remembers. But we are failing in our task as a Christian if we do that. Because without discipline, there is not restoration. And in the way that some theologians were trying to compare the church discipline with restoration is in the traffic lights example. Do you know the traffic light example? If you have a small kid with you, you have to explain that you never cross when the traffic light is in what color? Red. You don't cross if it's red. You only cross if the light is green. And sometimes if you live in a fancy country and you can press the button, you have a green man with the sound. And my girls discovered that at the bottom of the traffic lights, if you touch, there is like a weird thing that moves. Why? We teach our kids to cross with the green and not the red. To keep them safe. And will I judge you if your kid is trying to, life is string and politically correct. This is like terrible. Will I judge you if you have to give like a gentle slap to your kid if they are crossing? I am emphasizing the word gentle, okay? Life string, gentle. A gentle slap to your kids in a place that they have more fat to cushion the gentleness of the slap. If they are crossing with the red light, cannot be judged, because at some point they need to learn. Do people in the internet or Twitter will say that you don't love your kids because your gentleness, and sometimes not so gentle, slap them when they were trying to cross with the red light? Some people in Twitter will make a campaign about you. And then you say, that's why you use blue sky, that is for all the wimps people, or stuff like that. You do the discipline in order that your kid will be kept safe. The discipline in the Christian life of the calling to somebody that is doing something wrong is not in order to boast about ourselves. That's the problem sometimes with discipline. But it's in order to restore, to love, and listen to the important thing in this passage. It says, Paul, to bear one another's burden. Do you know what is the key with the Christian discipline? Do you know what is the key with the spiritual restoration? That when you chat with somebody that is struggling with the sin, you are taking that burden with you. And now you are a participant in your brothers or sisters' struggle, and together in a partnership you are helping this brother and this sister to be restored, to be free, and to be totally in conjunction with God. The key is that you are not doing it in order to point a finger, but you are doing it in order to hold hands and walk together until your weaker brother or sister is restored and can say, I am no longer a slave of this sin. And if you do it that way, life is a lot easier. And if you do it that way, you are not boasting, but you are exercising not Christian discipline, but you are exercising Christ's love. Christ's love. Are we good exercising Christ's love in our current setting, in our current way of doing things? I will go as far to say no. The passage is calling us to do it better. Can we do it better? I think yes. We are starting quite low, and so all the way from here is up. But Paul doesn't only stop in there, because he's talking about something the spiritual, brothers and sisters. And being spiritual is something really funny, because sometimes we face, let me just try to move this without hurting myself. Hopefully everybody can see it. If you are in that side, you're probably not going to see it. Let me just try to point this here. Sometimes we face in the Christian life what is called the Dunning-Kruger effect. The Dunning-Kruger effect is something that is called about the enthusiasm and the desire, and how do you feel about something? You feel. And in this line is the knowledge that you actually have There you go. It's D now. There you see, I don't have the knowledge to do this properly. So the knowledge that you have about the actual topic. In the Christian life, you have people that are in this place. And do you know how do you entitle this place? This place is called Mountain Stupid. And I was so happy when I found that this is the actual terminology for this. This is called Mountain Stupid. And the Mountain Stupid is the place in the Christian life when you have some people in our congregation and some people, I will call this Mountain Stupid. I will call this first semester of first year of Bible college. I will call this the place when the person feels that they know everything. You have the phrase, I read John 3:16, I know everything about Christ. And they believe that they are the most spiritual person in the ground. But the gap between what they feel and what they actually know is terrible. So you have these people that they believe that they know everything, that they will call themselves, they are reading Galatians chapter 6, verse 1 to 10, they will call themselves, I am the spiritual brother. They tend to have a big Bible. They tend to approach you and say, Margaret, how can I pray for you? Have you met those people? Oh boy, how can I pray for you? Hey, brother, do you need any help? He said, you have any doubts about the big Bible that I have in my hands? Just come to me. I will explain you everything. They have an opinion on everything. They know everything. But sadly, they are in Mount Stupid. If you find yourself in Mount Stupid, it's not a good place to be. The next step is what is called the Valley of Despair. And because I don't know how to spell despair very well, I am not going to write it. But it's called the Valley of Despair. It's at some point you decided that you don't want to only read John 3:16, but you want to read all the Gospels. And then you just come to this point and you realize there is a lot more to learn. I know nothing. And to be honest, when you are here, Mount Stupid people try to treat you bad and try to say, oh, I know more than you. And actually, if you find yourself in Mount Despair, be assured that you know more than Mr. Monty Stupid people. Because at least you have realized that you don't know. And only when you move from there, you can start growing in your Christian life. So the first question that we may ask all of us in this Dunning-Kruger is, in what place are we today? In what place are we today? Because it's very important to know in what place we are. And you're in the place that you know everything. If you have thought that you know everything, don't lift your hands because you are in the top of the mountain, okay? If you think this is too complicated, I don't understand, it's using words that are too big, congratulations, brother and sister. You are in the path of growth and restoration with the Lord. So, Paul is pointing to people and he is saying to people this: for anyone thinks that he is something, he is nothing. Paul agrees with me, or I agree with Paul. That's the right way. If you think that you know everything, you are pretty silly. I was told to don't use certain words that I like. So I'm just in my mount of growing, doing what the Margaret told me to do, sadly. You are growing. Bear one another burdens. He is nothing. He deceives himself. But let each other test his own work. Then his reason to boast will be in himself alone and not in his neighbor. Again, this is the point of the Christian life. We are called to boast in Jesus' name. And we are called to do the Christian life by ourselves. Let's be honest. When I was doing the Dunning-Kruger effect, and I was talking about Mount Stupid, I am pretty sure somebody that was not yourself came to your mind that you will locate here. I am right. I have more than one person that I would put in that place. So when I was preparing the sermon, I was like, this person is in Mount Stupid, this person is in Mount Stupid, this person is in Mount Stupid. And then I have to read the rest of the passage and say, oh, they got me. The question, and when you do with the diagram, is not to check what Gary is in the diagram, Linda. You are not here to check what Gary is in the diagram. You are here to check where you are in the diagram. The Christian life and our relationship with Christ, sometimes we want to check and we want to have opinions where other people are. And as a minister, it is beautiful because everybody feels free to let me know their opinions about me, which is fantastic. Every week I get somebody telling me like if the sermon was crap or not. Well done. Congratulations. It's so good. That's part of the job. The point is, where are you? It's not where the minister is. If you think the minister is here, fair enough, that's your opinion. I am here. No, just joking. We need to check with ourselves where we are. How is my relationship with Christ? How is my spiritual life? We need to assess ourselves. Do you know, when you do a Slimming Word, and I don't do that, for me, a Slimming Word is an scam. But anyways, so when people go to a Slimming Word, you go and they put you there, and they have like a scale, and they ask you to stand in the scale. You cannot stand in the scale holding with one leg and holding the other thing. If you watch the UFC, you have people, like it's wonderful when they put a towel in the fighters. Sometimes you hold the towel, and holding the towel, you can shed between 2 and 5 pounds. And I is like, if I'm going to Slimming Word and I haven't made my target, I just say, I will go naked and let me hold the towel, and then I will make my target here. I lost 5 pounds last week. Just my 2 fingers holding that towel like crazy. Because the weight in your arms go into the towel. Sometimes, we tend to pass the weight of our spiritual growth, the weight of our personal life to Christ onto somebody else. Is my junior church leader, is the minister, is the elder in my district, is the person singing. No, you cannot pass the work of your spiritual life to somebody else. For each will have to bear his own load. And do you know what is the load that you have to bear? This is Junior Church 101. What is the load that we have to bear? Jesus. Imagine if Jesus tried to bypass and tried to put the weight of his load to somebody else. We will be not safe. Imagine Jesus say like, he tried. He said to the Father, if it's possible for you to pass this cup from me, please do it. But it wasn't passed. He walked to Calvary. He died on a cross. He carried the sins of the world. So he's asking me as a Christian, can you bear your own load? Stop being lazy in the Christian life. Stop having other people to read the Bible for you, to pray for you, to have a relationship with me for you. Sometimes I laugh. I have been in places that I arrive and then they ask me to pray because I am the minister. Can the minister pray? And I pray because if they ask you to pray, I will pray. But I have been in a church that they have been waiting for a minister to arrive to pray. You can pray. You can read the Bible. You cannot be content in here. If you are in here, we will need to knock some sense on you, okay? If you are in here, we just need to knock some sense of you. If you believe that this sermon has nothing to teach or to instruct you, and you are watching online and you are just like, this is just stupid, no, you are stupid. You need to be here. Or here, or here, or here. There is no way to be here if you don't end up realizing that I need to know more about Christ. Then they have some verse in there in the middle that Paul is brilliant. And I have to mention, because it's there in the middle, they say, let the one who is taught the word share all good things with the one who teach. Basically, Paul is saying, pay your minister. That's what the Bible says. And I don't like to go there because most of us do not like to say, pay the minister. But what he is saying is, we need to support your local church. We need to support the work of the local church. When we are growing spiritually, when we are growing in faith with the Lord, we understand that this is not just a place, that this is not just a building. This is a family. We are a family. Even if there are some of us that we don't like too much, we are a family. We need to invite them to the Christmas dinner and give them turkey and ham. Okay? Don't pretend that the family member that you don't like is vegetarian and don't give them any turkey. You need to give them. And if they like cranberry juice, you give them cranberry juice. We are here to support each other. Do not be deceived. God is no mock. For whatever one sows, that will he also reap. And this is important now. This is important now because we live in a place and society nowadays live in a place with no consequences. You live in a place when there are actually not much of a consequence. People are mean and then you try to ignore and then you realize what we planned, we sow. Have you ever find the story? I was chatting this with my dad this week, and you have like a funny story in Cuba, and we have in a classroom somebody that was really annoying. This fellow was a pain in the neck. And so we tried to do an anonymous query about things. And everybody was supposed to write in the piece of paper who was the most annoying person in the class. In Cuba, you don't have politically correct kind of thing. You just do things. And so we have to write. And this guy that we are going to call him Lazarus, this guy Lazarus, he didn't write one person. He wrote the whole class. But the other 29 people only wrote Lazarus in the piece of paper. So the one that was a pain in the neck was not the whole class, but Lazarus. At some point, we need to realize, and when you are doing pastoral care and pastoral support, you know these people that they hate everybody and everybody's mean to them and everybody, the world is so unfair and they have done no wrong. Darling, brother, if you have a problem with everybody, maybe the problem is you. Have you ever thought about that? You cannot expect to go to the vineyard and get an orange. You get a grape. You cannot expect to go to a restaurant. I was in a place in a restaurant once, and I'm going to confess, this was the craziest order ever in the life. This person ordered a Caesar salad, but she required that no letters of tomatoes were included in the Caesar salad. And I was like, do not order a Caesar salad if you don't like letters. Is that complicated? It is not. And you, by now, you know me. And you know that I cannot keep my opinions for myself. And I was in this table, and I start laughing. And then they say, "What are you laughing?" And I said, "This is the most stupid order I have ever heard in my life." And then they say that I was mean. I still stayed by my statement. That was the most stupid order. And then the waiter didn't understand. And then they brought the Caesar salad, and up and behold, there was a lot of grain in the plate. Then they make a complaint about the Caesar salad and the treatment of the restaurant. And I say, "Darling, you knew what was going to happen. You sit in this chair ready for a fight with the restaurant. You will only get what you are given." How much are we given to the Lord? Because sometimes we have expectations of the Lord to give us a lot of stuff to us. We have the expectations of receiving, but we are not given God even the time of the day. A spiritual restoration, a spiritual transformation, a spiritual life is dependent of the Holy Spirit and the relationship that we have with God. And this is all built in the letter of Galatians, when you have these stupid people telling the rest of the people in the church that they needed to be circumcised because they knew everything. And they have lost the grace, love, and gospel of Jesus Christ because they forgot to meet Jesus along the way. And it says this. And this is important because at the moment this sermon feels like we are in a boxing match and we are getting punched all over the place and nobody have told us, "Are you ready? Are you ready? Are you ready?" Like the passage is punching me all over my face. But Paul tried to give a jab of gentleness, encouragement. He said in verse 9, "And let us not grow weary of doing good, for in due season we will reap if we don't give up." And I take this passage really personal. When I was reading this passage, when I am preaching, and I see the blank spaces in our church sanctuary, and I grow in awareness of despair, I use this passage as my promise. If you are having people in your family that don't know the Lord, and you have been praying for people and you are seeing no results and you are worried, use this Bible passage as your hope and your statement of faith. Look what Paul says. "And let us not grow weary of doing good." First, do good. In due season we will reap if we do not give up. So don't give up, brothers and sisters. We have every opportunity. Let us do good to everyone, and especially to those who are of the household of faith. We are a family. We need to care for each other. And sometimes we forget that we are a family and that we are called to care for each other. Paul is writing this because in the cultural background of the church of Galatia, in Cuba, when you come from a country like Cuba, the government abandons you if you are a Christian. Your family will abandon you if you are a Christian. You lose everything if you are a Christian. So when you are in the household of the Lord, you need to be cared by the people in the house of the Lord. That's why we do our food table. That's why we open the coffee door. That's why your elders visit you. That's why, if you want the full support, help of the church, you need to be willing to be part of this family. If you are watching online, we cannot help you as much as we would like because we don't know you. We don't know who you are and we don't know where you live. That's the invitation. You reap where you sow. We invite people to be part of the family of Christ. So the family of Christ will care for them as well. God bless you. Let's stand and sing.